So let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, visible because.
Okay, good. So okay, so yesterday we especially talk about, like in the first class, some basic stuff like what is S4 HANA and Fiori Security, and what is the changes we have in compared to ECC to S4 HANA. And then we talk about like what is the meaning of S4 HANA, like S4 is sim- simplification. Okay, S means simplification of the ECC server which we have in the previous version, and 4 means fourth generation ERP. So in S4 HANA, especially like the structure of the tables, what we have in ECC will be got changed, and then we have the column based table, especially for the functional stream, and also the number of table is got reduced in S4 HANA system. So that basic change happened here in S4 HANA compared to your previous EHP version or ECC version. Okay, and then some other advantages there, like SAP S4 HANA running on SAP HANA as a database, and SAP HANA is a in-memory database. So it is running faster compared to your previous version, because all the software will be loaded into your main memory, and from main memory to your processor the communication is faster because both are the electronic devices. Okay, so the history, like it is started in 2010, and then only the database has been established initially, and then in 2015 SAP come up with the S4 HANA, where all the application, not all but most of the application, basic application is being changed to the Fiori based application, so they are converted into the S4 HANA way. Okay, so SAP given like a two edition, S4 HANA on premise and S4 HANA cloud edition. So you can install S4 HANA software on the server machine, on your own machine, client machine I mean, and you can use the SAP S4 HANA using cloud version. So the cloud, then it will be installed on the cloud providers. Okay, so these are the cloud providers like SAP Cloud, Amazon, Azure, or Google Cloud. So so if the software is installed on their machine and then they are providing service, so we call as a software as a service for them. From them people can be use that as a rented services. Okay, so in SAP, like they have come up with on-premise version initially with the 39 language and 64 country specific version, and cloud edition they came with 18 languages and 33 country specific version. Okay, so then we talk about little business history like R2, R3, ERP, and S4 HANA. So S4 HANA came into 2015. Okay, and then little bit basic structure of the SAP S4 HANA. So SAP S4 HANA has a presentation layer, and then SAP S4 HANA, to install the SAP S4 HANA, it is mandated to have a HANA as a database. On the HANA database only we can install S4 HANA. So there is a specific advantage, like it is a highly compression rate is there for HANA system, HANA software. So it is 500 10 is to 1 compression uh, rate is there. So if you are installing the same software on Oracle database, so it will take 500 GB, whereas if you install the same software on HANA, so it will take 50 GB. So that means difference is there. Okay, and second thing, like it is a in-memory database, so all the information will be stored into main memory, and from main memory it is communicated to processor, and from processor it will be going to presentation layer. And then like a time wise, if you say like in the previous version, if you for completing a software, for instance you need 300 seconds, so now it is required 10 seconds to complete the same transaction. So these are some advantages there. which is there in SAP S4 HANA. And additionally, like you have additional user interface, we call as a Fiori as a interface. So you can utilize like a traditional way of running transactions to complete the transaction, or you can use the Fiori application to complete the transaction. Okay, so these are some specific language to write the information in the main memory, and to write a information to main memory, the program is stored into MaxDB. Okay, so this is again the part of HANA database. Okay, so any questions before moving?
Sir, sir, can you explain again?
Which one?
Yeah, this topic. Database, HANA database, MaxDB,
Yeah.
SAP. Yeah.
Yeah, so the main HANA software will be stored into HANA database, which is in-memory database. Okay, then there is some specific like track speed time is there. So these are the software to write the information in main memory. Okay, and to write the information in memory, the program which is written in these language will be stored into MaxDB. Okay,
What is the Trex, P-type, and MaxDB?
these are the programs which will be, yeah, these are the programs which is writing the information to main memory, because in main memory also it is not that by default the data will be loaded. The data will be loaded with the software, and these are the softwares to write the information into database.
Okay, where the communication is done between SAP HANA and main memory.
Yeah, but both are reside into same main memory itself. But the program will be called. Suppose you are calling or you are running any application here in the Fiori. Okay, so from processor it will send the request here, right?
HANA DB,
So
okay. Main
so
memory.
yeah,
Okay.
main memory. But
Okay.
but in main memory where to write? Okay, so these program will be writing where they will find the free space. Okay, so so for example, if you have your hard disk, so in hard disk also it will not run by default. There will be some certain program which will identify which track is empty and where to write. And similar for reading also, it has to go and fetch the same record or same sector where your data is stored, right? So this will be happening with the program only, the database program. So that is the database program here, in that sense here. Okay, so it is more if you like, if you want to know more about like tracks or p time, you can just read on Google. Maybe you can find some more lengthy information, better information, how the database will be written on main memory, or maybe how hard disk works actually. Okay, but for us to understand, like these are the program which will write information in which main memory it has to load data, and if any processor is in processing is happening with the with the you can say like your Fiori application, so in which part of the memory it has to be stored, or from which part it has to be retrieved. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So not think much. It's not really important in terms of security, but in terms of understanding how the data will be written in the main memory. That is the main
Yeah.
important here.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So these are the main feature of HANA as a database. So like first is in memory database. So the data will be loaded into main memory. So the communication will not be happening directly from your hard disk to processor, means main memory, and main memory to processor. It is directly processing information from main memory and processor. Okay, so that is one thing. And second thing, multiple parallel processing is happening, because there are multiple processor in the HANA architecture, the hardware wise, like to install the HANA database, we have to add so many processors and so many main memories. So then only HANA can be installed on the server. So hardware is strong in case if you want to install HANA database. Okay. So that is the reason, like multiple processes will be added into the servers, so that if you are running any or processing any information using Fiori or transaction, it will be going for multiple processes to process the information. Okay, and since we have many main memory, so that the information will be moving to the processes quickly. Okay, so that is the meaning of multiple parallel processing here. Okay, so HANA cannot be, or S4 HANA cannot be installed on your normal machines. It should have a specification which is given by the SAP and a specific vendor only. So from there only client has to purchase the hardware. Okay, they have strong hardwares. Okay, and then the column store, so the data will be stored mainly in the column format. So that it will be having like many information in the column format, especially like a functional tables, but the standard tables, like for example basis and security, is still in the old format, like in row and column format. Okay, so that is the basic change happen in the structure wise. And then the compression is a technique. So the data is compressed, so the technique used for the compression in HANA is more, so it is 10:1 ratio. So that is the reason, like the database will be loaded into main memory, because the compression is high. So they have made some technique to compress the data, and then that is the reason the data will be loaded into main memory. Okay, so now if you can observe also, like the hardware wise, uh, we have strong main memory, right? So 16 GB is the normal, now become normal, or 32 GB is normal to be in one laptop itself, right? So assume like 1 TB is a normal thing now, if you say
Means
main
for
memory.
means you were saying for HANA database, hardware should be strong, like minimum 16 or 32 GB, and should be required, right? For a laptop.
Ideally, yeah, means you can assume that, like, but we cannot install HANA on our machine or S4 HANA, because they need not only like 32 GB or one processor, but it will have in the rack. If you see in the server, na, so server architecture is like they had the different racks, will be, we call as the racks. So in rack we have multiple processors and multiple main memory, so that will be keep adding as and when the database is growing. Okay, so like
Okay.
every initially once we install, so a new implementation for S4 HANA, so initially the memory requirement is less, because the people is not created sales order, purchase order, so they are not having multiple information, right? But later point of time, every day they are creating like 1,000 of big companies, there 1,000 2,000 sales orders, purchase orders. Okay, so many transaction they are running, so the database is keep filling, right? So then they have to keep adding that racks into the servers, so that it is able to have the ability to hold multiple amount of data or large amount of data, and similarly they are have the ability to process those data. Correct. So
Okay.
so it is not for, and SAP specified a like a specific vendor only, you have to purchase a specific features of the hardware. It's not it cannot be installed on your simple normal machines. Okay, so SAP have given a specific vendors, so like your IBM is there, and your Dell is there, and some specific vendors are there. And also, like you to install your HANA database, it can be having basic software like your Windows software is there. Na? Similarly, like your operating system should not be Windows, it should be Linux only. Either it is a Red Hat Linux or SUSE Linux. Okay, so on Windows you cannot install your S4 HANA software. So here in the site you can see like what is the basic hardware requirement is there, who can support those hardwares. So like Intel based hardware platform, IBM powered system is there. Okay, so specified vendors are available. On that only we can install this HANA. So here some master guides are available that you can find here. Okay, so here is some information, at least 256 GB of memory, main memory. Okay,
6 GB main.
main memory. Okay, so minimum they can asking like 128 GB, but main memory 256 GB is minimum requirement to install, so it will run better. Okay, anyway, so let's move on. So this is the evolution happening. So initially in 2011 they have only HANA as a database, then they have come up with SAP powered by HANA. So especially in the BW side they have installed that use the SAP HANA as a database to use the real time reporting, and BW reporting will be done on the HANA database. Okay, and 2013 they come up with SAP Business Suite powered by HANA. In this, both the things they have included like OLAP and OLTP, both the things. So you can use or run the software for basic transactional application and also for reporting purpose. So both the things you can use for Business Suite. Okay, and then in 2014 they come up with complete finance module they have converted into S4 HANA way. So then they call SAP Simple Finance powered by HANA. And in 2015 they come up with the most of the core module of ECC is being converted into SAP S4 HANA format, and then they have released this software SAP S4 HANA in 2015. Okay, so any query here until here? Okay, so just move on. So these are the comparison compared to SAP ERP and SAP S4 HANA. So here in ERP, like SAP GUI having the preference here, you can do most of the things with the SAP GUI, and in SAP S4 HANA the preference goes to SAP Fiori. So most of the application is converted to the Fiori, and SAP or the people want to use SAP Fiori to complete their transaction. Okay, for them it is easy. So that is the user interface change happen. And then the application wise, like if you want to use or install ERP, so it is a database independent. Okay. So, and also you can use either of them. Either you can use a transactional or analytical application, either of them. Okay. But in SAP S4 HANA, so it is optimized coding is happening here. Then you can have both the things, like either you can use the transactional application plus reporting as well with the application wise, and the database wise, like you can install on any of the database. But here as for HANA, you can only install on the HANA database. So these are the basic change happen compared to ECC and S4 HANA.
Because I have a doubt.
Yeah, yeah, Kusum.
So if my client says like, they want to go on S4 HANA, but they don't want to go with Fiori.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, I mean, in general, the Fiori is like, user interface role it plays,
Correct.
making it easy
Right.
for understanding, and maybe they need not have to understand the names of the transaction and other things.
Mm-hmm.
So in such case, what is the main, like the main advantage that we could quote here?
So the main advantage what you can quote here, like if you go for S4 HANA but you don't want to use Fiori, but still you have the advantage for HANA as a database. Okay, so which is running on your main memory, right? That is the main feature. So and then not only this, but also there are some specific changes happen. Like here the number of table are more in ERP, and the same module, the number of table got reduced, so they merge many functional table into single tables. Okay, so the number of table is reduced, and also they have optimized the coding as well. Okay, so those are the basic change happen, which will be making S4 HANA better compared to your ERP software. And additionally, if you want to make some reporting on the HANA database, from here you can use the HANA as a database and create some reporting also, like similar to like BW kind of reporting for the HANA database. So those are the advantage, even though if you're not using Fiori, so these are the advantage compared to your ERP to S4 HANA.
Okay, thank you.
Correct na? Got it na?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So any other question from anyone? Okay, so these are the features what we like releases we have. So 1709 our premise, 2015 March, and November 2015. So these are the releases given by the SAP, and now every September they are releasing new versions. So like 2017 September they have released 1709, and 2018 so 1809 they have mentioned the name. So like that they have keep giving new version in each year for on premise. So like we have a new version like S4 HANA 2021 which is released in September 2021. Okay, so these are the specific versions we have for on premise, and SAP S4 HANA cloud version also we have these versions. Okay, and SAP releasing cloud version quite early, like here it is coming every year, but here it is coming every 6 months. Okay, sometime little early also, but these are the versions what we have for on premise and cloud versions. Okay, so the deployment wise, like these are the deployment method. So we can deploy SAP S4 HANA on client machine itself, or either we can use the cloud providers, like we can use Amazon Cloud SAP S4 HANA cloud version, and we can utilize that software to use our company requirement, or we can use the SAP S4 HANA hybrid way. So for example, if you want to have some software, some application on your cloud machine, and some of the application on your main on-premise machine. For example, HR or some other sensitive one, if you don't want to use for cloud version, so then you can use in this way, hybrid way. Okay. So what is Fiori? In this Fiori, we know that Fiori is a software experience, like a front end experience. So the same transaction which we are running in the back end, so that can be run using executing Fiori application. So if you click on Fiori application, you can do the same transaction without keeping or typing your transaction code. So we just have to click, for example, sales order, manage sales order. Fiori application is there. If you click on Fiori application on the web, so you can complete the transaction of creating sales order without writing VA01 in the backend, right? So that is the advantage for Fiori, and which will provide a easy to use for a end users. It is running on the UX technology, like HTML5 technology, so that it can be supported in on any of the web application devices. Okay, and work seamlessly. Either you use on desktop, tablet, or smartphone, it will work in the same way, either of the machines. Okay, so now 750 plus application is being transformed into Fiori application. So these application is categorized into transactional application, fact sheet, and analytical application. So these are the three type of Fiori applications we have in Fiori, that is there. So in transaction, like basic transaction, what we are running, like a VA01, for example, in the back end. So the same transaction is transformed into Fiori application, that we call as a transactional application. Okay, and the fact sheet is something similar to, like, if you want to search something from the database, you can find like a Google output kind of information using the fact sheet in the Fiori. Okay, so this is also a kind of application we have in Fiori. And then we have some analytical application, which is especially for the reporting purpose. So if you want to have some reports using Fiori application, that also we can deploy in the Fiori application. Okay, and Fiori application designed in various line of business, for example, HR, finance, manufacturing, procurement, sales. So those are some examples, like Fiori application is being converted for these modules. Okay, still like basis and security, you cannot find a Fiori application, like for creating users using Fiori, or some basis application if you want to client copy or something, that cannot be done using Fiori application. Okay, so offer ability to perform transaction, that's fine. So this is a look and feel for Fiori. So you can see, like, this is the Fiori application. Once you launch the Fiori launchpad, so the user ID will be there, and then these are the Fiori groups are there, and that these are the Fiori tiles or applications you can find. So if user want to run Fiori application, so he just click here, and then he can perform or complete the transaction. If you want to see some report, he can click here and see the report in different format. That, so these are the informations how the Fiori looks like, right? So any question here before moving further? Okay, so here the Fiori versions. So these are the Fiori versions, and then we need some Fiori front end version also. So it is for Fiori launchpad. So these are the versions, like 6.0, 5.0, 4.0, 3.0. So these are the versions are there for Fiori front end server. Okay, so that we can find from here as well. So here we can find like this is the Fiori front-end server version 6.0, and then this is our foundation backend server S4 HANA foundation 1909. Initial stack is there. So that is the version for this software. Okay, that we can find from here. So it is a role-based adaptive. So these are the features for Fiori. It is a role-based adaptive, simple, coherent and delightful. Like the role-based, the Fiori application is designed based on the role of the users, end users. Okay, and then it is adaptive. It will be running on any of the different devices. It is simple to use. Okay, it is coherent in all the devices. It is working in the same way how it is working in one device, and look and feel is better. So these are some advantage or features you can say. Okay, these are the features are there. So this is about like function based and role based. So that is the basic difference. Okay, so in Fiori, so before Fiori in ERP, if you want to run any of the transaction, for example VA01, so some of the application is required by this person who is working only for creating sales order, and then some of the application within that VA01 is required for one person who is scheduling some agreement. Okay, so for them also it is required. So for giving the different people whose responsibility is different within VA01, we have to provide VA01 access, and then we have to restrict. So in Fiori it is divided these into three parts. Okay, so somebody who is only can create a sales order, somebody who can manage the scheduling agreement, somebody who is approving the invoice. Okay, so like that they have divided into the three part of the application. So whoever need the specific application, they need only that specific application here. Okay, so that is the meaning of role based application, right? So any question here? Anyone?
No, Vikas.
Right, so like if somebody who is creating only for purchasing like a delivery information or the invoice information, or somebody who is only required on maintaining the communication address. Okay, or somebody who is required for making the payment processing, for example here. Okay, so it's not that everybody will be giving all the access, but to give somebody to give the payment processing, we have to give access for ME23N, okay, or 21N. So those things has been divided here in the Fiori, so that we don't have to give this transaction and restrict only for payment processing. Okay, so they have divided into that part role based. And okay, then here this is also important thing to know. So like it is a multiple entry point for a one user. So suppose this user who need access for ERP and CRM, suppose he need access for both the system. So to log in into ERP or to work into ERP, he has to log in one system here. Okay, and similarly if you want to log in and do some work in CRM, he has to again go to this system and log in user ID and password and get inside and do his work in CRM, right? So that the meaning, suppose he is there in 2 system or 4 system, every system he has to log in individually to perform his job, right? So that is the meaning, like multiple entry point for the same user for different application, right? But here if you use like a Fiori, so and you install different application, different systems and different application, so only Fiori we have to log in, and from login to Fiori you can run the application for CRM, you can click on some application which is for ECC. So we don't have to log in into multiple backend system, only one front end system if you log in, and then you can perform the different related application for different systems. That is the meaning of one entry point for the user. Got it? So any question here?
No.
Okay. So this is important aspect, in Fiori, while designing the Fiori, if you have like CRM, ECC, or BW, or some other SRM, for example, powered by HANA. Okay, so those system and related Fiori application you can deploy in Fiori Launchpad, and for user, if you assign like these three Fiori front-end role for the user, so he's have the ability to access three different application from three different system, and then he can use either of the application by using the one login ID and password in Fiori Launchpad only.
Because here you mean to say like if we have three clients, we need to log into three individual clients in ECC ERP system. Whereas in case of Fiori, we can log in general and go to each application, right?
Not even client, you can say like a system. Okay, like COS CRM system in one. For example, here if you assume like in Launchpad in the GUI, if you have three systems, SAP S4 HANA, leave out ECC, but some other, suppose SRM is there or GRC is there. Okay, so
Okay.
if you want to do something in GRC, then we have to log in here in GRC, right? If suppose something you want to do for S4 HANA, you have to log in S4 HANA, right?
Okay.
And perform the activity. But if you use the Fiori for those system where HANA is there, okay, so you can create one Fiori Launchpad, okay, for the
Okay.
user, and then keep one application from GRC in his Launchpad, keep one application for S4 HANA, similarly one for SRM. So three different application will be visible on his screen.
The user will have only one user ID and one
Correct,
password.
correct,
Okay.
for Fiori.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to click on the application for GRC, he will be directed to GRC. Okay, suppose he want to run the risk analysis. Okay, so from the application for GRC, okay, for which is deployed in his launchpad, he click here, and then he will run the risk analysis from here. So information will be presented to his Fiori frontend Fiori application. Okay, suppose he want to create a sales order, then he create a sales order, and then that will be saved into your S4 HANA system, like that. Okay, so like that the meaning is. So
Okay.
in the Fiori Launchpad, he have one application for CRM, one application for S4 HANA. So if we click here, the like creating sales order, so it will be saved here. If we click on CRM reports, so the report information will be fetched from the backend server and presented in his Fiori application. Okay, so that is the meaning. You don't have to go backend and run some transaction and find what is the report is there for CRM. Okay, good. So any other person, any question? Saurabh, Shivam. Okay, Akash.
Nothing, Vikas. Going good.
Okay. Okay, so just move on. So this is just an example like function and rule based. So creating vendor, one application is there. Creating vendor accounting information, one application is there. So in Fiori, it is being divided into two parts. So somebody who is responsible to maintain vendor address, he will get this, and somebody who is maintaining the vendor accounting information, they will get only this application.
In ERP, for both, we will go to same transaction, right?
Correct, correct, correct. So this is just an example which we just told you, like function based and role based, what is the difference, right? Okay, so just moving on. So like if your application runs on the devices, so 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 it can be run on many devices, and it can be supported these many things, like you can use the printing if you want to keep a task, if you want to keep contacts, okay, calendars, camera, voice recording, GPS, these settings. So these are the features can be supported by the Fiori applications. Okay, so this is normal thing. So the Fiori, like a Fiori is designed in UX technology, and by UX technology, so it is HTML5 technology, which is giving look and feel is better, and then you can run on any of the application. Either you can run the same application on SAP S4 HANA Cloud Edition or on premise. So the both way it is running same way. You can't feel any difference while running the application. Either it is S4 HANA on premise or Cloud Edition. It is exactly the same. Okay, and this Fiori application can be customized. User can change like this settings. So suppose you don't want some color of this Fiori front end, so you can change some extent of their colors also. He can arrange the tiles, he can keep the keep the information like which tiles he is used frequently. So like that he can make some changes, basic settings he can do. Okay, so these are some features again, like SAP, it is developed in SAP UI5 or HTML5 version. That is the framework they used, and the program written behind to fetch the information is in ABAP. Okay, so ABAP is responsible to fetch the information and present into this Fiori application. And even if you are running any transaction, so ABAP is the program which is transferring the information to the database to store the information. Okay, and all the program written behind with the ABAP only, which is again the SAP proprietary. So to implement like your Fiori application, so this is the basic requirement. So it should be a NetWeaver 7.5 or higher. Okay, so life cycle decoupling of UI application from backend. So this is also possible, like we can decouple the Fiori application from the your backend server. So that is also possible. So if you want, like your Fiori front-end server will be in separate server, that is also possible. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little more, what is the meaning of decoupling here, but especially for the application for must run on only on any database, so that Fiori application can be run on any of the database. Okay, allow faster interaction for UI application, allow changes for UI application without need of development privileges into the backend server. So if you want to design any new Fiori application, for example, on it is running on HTML5, so we really don't need backend server access. Okay, so I think let's come before here. I just want to tell you one thing. Let's wait for here. I think
Because in general, HANA DB will be in one server, and then S4 HANA and Fiori will be in another server, right?
yeah. So two things are there. Okay,
But not necessarily.
yeah, not necessarily. So uh, here two deployment method we have. Okay, one is the central hub and one is embedded. So in the central hub, the main difference is like you have the backend server and front end server. So so if this is the scenario, like your backend server and front end server are different, then we call as a central hub scenario. Okay, so in backend server, like here you have your S4 HANA system. Okay, and Fiori you are running here in the front end server. So if this is the scenario, then we call as central hub scenario. Okay, so embedded is one thing where both the things will be there in the same server. Okay,
Because here S4 HANA will be embedded with HANA.
correct. So only thing, just see, like here we have this system, right? So here if you see, in this system we have both the things in one server itself. So like here Fiori front end server, right? So that is Fiori front end server 6.0. So this thing Fiori is also there in the same server, and your S4 HANA, that is also there in the same server, right? So if this is the scenario, like 1909 and 6.0 both in the same server, that is nothing but your embedded one. Okay.
Because one question here.
Yeah.
So I've seen, like, many clients going for central hub and rather than the embedded one.
Mm-hmm.
Any particular reason behind that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is some specific advantage and disadvantages there in both the deployment method. Okay, but before going to this, like this you everyone understood, right? What is the meaning of here embedded one? Like your front end, back end server, like your S4 HANA and your Fiori front end, both are in same server. So if it is in same server, that we call as a embedded scenario.
Because here HANA DB will also be on the same server, right?
Correct. So here database, if you see, the database is the HANA. Okay, so here you can see your database is HDB, right? HDB means HANA database. Okay, so always for S4 HANA it is a HANA database, right? And operating system is Linux.
Because can we implement HANA DB in one server and S4 HANA in another server?
Yeah. So no. S4 HANA always on the HANA database. Okay,
Okay, both will be in
not both.
the same server.
Yeah, this backend is always on the HANA database. Okay,
Okay.
so that is the mandatory thing for this. Okay, but if you want to install this Fiori, that can you have the option, either you can install on HANA or you can install on any other database if you have different servers, like in this scenario. Okay, so anyway, this is always the HANA database. Either you use anyone, either you use central hub scenario or either you backend scenario, always backend server will be on the HANA database. That is mandatory. Okay, you have option here. Sorry, not here. My mistake. Sorry. Okay, so this will be always on the HANA database. Fiori you have option. You can install on any database in this scenario. So here it is in one server and here it is in another server. Okay. Okay. So in this scenario you have the option that you can install on any of the database Fiori application. Right? So this one, any question here? Understanding is?
Because I have a doubt here, like, is it possible that we can have Fiori, like the front end server, also on the HANA database, even
Yes.
in central model?
Yes. We can have it. Yes. Okay. So here, suppose you have the backend like CRM system, CRM which is enabled powered by HANA. Okay. Suppose this is a scenario. So in this scenario, both the system you can connect with only one Fiori front-end server. Okay. So this we just talk about, right? Multiple and entry point and single entry point. So this can be achieved in this scenario. So again, for application, for ECC related application, you can install here, means you can use here. Similarly, for CRM related Fiori application also you can use here, or SRM related thing also you can use here. Right? So here, like if suppose we create one user and give him access for application related to S4 HANA, CRM and SRM, so he can have access all the three system from here itself. Okay. So that is the scenario.
When we have multiple landscapes, is it better to prefer central hub, right?
Correct. Correct. Because here the advantage is like we can utilize the Fiori front end for many systems. That is the one point of access. Okay. But central hub and embedded one have specific advantage, disadvantage. So the advantage here, like you can see multiple system you can connect with one server, but the point here we have to manage two different servers here. In that case, or many systems you have to manage one extra server, basis has to manage, and client has to purchase one more extra server, right, to install the Fiori front end. Whereas only one system is required, like you already have your backend server, you can install Fiori front end thing also on the same server. And the second advantage is embedded one, communication is faster. Okay, because here the information will be flowing between each other through RFC connection. Okay, so we have to create one RFC connection between each of the server to connect front end and back end. Okay, so here if user is running Fiori application for S4 HANA creating sales order, so you click here the application, Fiori application, it will send information from here using RFC and then saving information here in S4 HANA. Okay, whereas it is no RFC is required in the same server, because both are in the same server. Okay, so the communication
Because
is faster.
in embedded we have embedded, right? And then
Hmm.
if we have another server
Hmm.
where we have a CRM by HANA,
Mm-hmm.
can we connect that to this Fiori front end through RFC?
No, if both are there in the same server, na, normally we are not using it. Okay, because we cannot use the same thing like your S4 HANA application for other server.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
so
okay,
if this is a scenario, it should be in the separate server.
okay.
Okay,
Because I have a question for embedded one.
yeah.
Let's say we have created the role in separate in the back end and one role for front end. So how the both role will be sync with the both system as there is no RFC connection
So
in the embedded.
here it's not required us to create two separate role. In one role itself we can use we give access for backend and front end together. But here in this scenario always we have to create one role for front end and one role for back end. and in this scenario at least 3 role for backend. Okay, if you want to give this user all the 3 application to 3 system, so for we have to create one user here. Okay, the same user, and the same user will be created here, here and here. Okay, and again we have to give the Fiori front end access through the role, and the backend access from the backend roles. Okay,
Okay.
because the respective data is also required to be provided to the users from here. Suppose he want to have access some report in CRM. Okay, so the application he can get access for the Fiori application from the Fiori front end role, right? So that is the CRM application. So if we click here, so it has to go from RFC and go for CRM and check which report he is asking. So it will again take the data, bring it back from RFC and present here to the front end server, right? If he has running transaction related application like create sales order, so it will go from here RFC, it will go here, and once he create the sales order, it is saving here in this database. Okay,
Okay.
but here it is in the same server, so that's what RFC, and no access is required for us. Okay, so in front end access only Fiori application you assume. Okay, we are giving like user will get this Fiori application for manage sales order or not, yes or no. If yes, then what type of sales order he can create, either it is a sales order for Pune location as a sales or sales location, or Mumbai or so other. So like that we have the different applications, and whatever he need we can restrict within that Fiori application, and that role restriction will be coming for the value based authorization in database in the backend roles. Okay, so we'll see that how to create master derived role in your S4 HANA and restrict the same application to the user. One user can run the same Fiori application, but he is restricted to create sales order for Pune, for example, and somebody who is restricted for creating sales order for Bangalore, and so. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. So that's what I have for today's. Any question here or understanding is in this scenario?
Yeah, because
Yes, because again one question for in embedded, for one role we can have the access for the backend as well as front end, or do
Correct.
we need to create a separate role for backend and front end in
No,
embedded?
no. One role can be sufficient here. Within one
Oh,
role, you can give both the access.
okay.
Okay. For making segregation, you can create two different roles. It's your choice, but one role can be enough to give the access. Okay, but here we must have to create two roles minimum. For example, if you want to give S4 HANA and only S4 HANA access for the user, then one role you have to create for front end for providing access for the Fiori application for S4 HANA related application, and one role you have to create for database level access for the same application.
Okay.
Okay, so here minimum two role you have to create here in suppose you want to give access for this user for one system. Okay, so that is the changes, technical changes happen. Okay, good. So that's all for today's. Any further query from anyone? Okay, so no questions. So we'll be meeting tomorrow, then the same time, and see some more new things here. So that's good to have like a deployment technique. So there's also like one of the interview question they will be asking the deployment method, and technical changes happen, how we can design, what is the advantage. Sometime maybe they can ask, rarely they will ask, but yeah, sometime they can ask.
Vikas, one question.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just
yeah,
take
yeah,
a minute.
yeah, sure, sure.
So, for example, a client is on S4 HANA, okay, but
Mm-hmm.
as I said, like, they are not on Fiori, they are with GUI,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now when I tell them, like, it's good to go for Fiori, and I'm somewhere okay with, like convincing them, like, the client is okay to go for Fiori now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the right approach considering the cost would also be the central method, right?
Mm. See, suppose you have only one system, as for HANA system, like this scenario, you have only one system, right? So why to use like in this way?
No,
Okay,
no, I have retail system also.
yeah. So if you have retail system, then you can say like you have two systems, and both system is you can utilize the Fiori application to complete or either of the transaction. So better approach, like you can install one more server for Fiori application, and from here people have to manage both the system. He don't have to log in here, he don't have to waste time for logging to each system and running the transaction. He can do everything from one system and one login itself.
Okay. But like when we do this migration, what would be like, the cost difference if we are going with central or if we are going with embedded? Because embedded ideally it's on the same server. That is like I like we see good cost cut over here.
Correct, na. So so that's what means we don't have to install separate server. That is the reason. Okay, so the cost wise, like because it is in same server and you install SAP Fiori, so it will be running for Fiori itself, right? But if you have landscape, multiple systems are there, and then you have to manage multiple system and providing access to the user. So that is the better approach in that sense, right? Because user
Yeah,
doesn't, if 10 system or 20 system is there, then this approach will be better.
got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that's all for today. So we'll be meeting tomorrow then and see some more new things. Okay, so till then, enjoy your rest of the day, and we'll be meeting tomorrow then. Okay.
Thank you, Vikas.
Okay, yeah, welcome.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Vikas.
welcome. Bye.
ठीक है जैसे डेल्टी व्यूअर्स देखो सेलेक्ट आई मीन करो इनको बात से नहीं है क्या क्या
अफ्रीका इस स्कोर को चेज करके सीरीज में वापसी कर पाती है या फिर भारतीय गेंदबाज जोहानिसबर्ग में ही सीरीज सील कर देंगे.
290 runs is what South Africa require to stay alive in this one-day international series. It's Hajiramla who will start things up for South Africa as he has done many a time. Lovely record that, 50.48 as his average. New captain, just 23 years old, good strike rate of 85.8 and a best of 66. And it's Bhubaneswar Kumar who will start up, swinging it this way and t'other. Shot. That's a beautiful drive off the back foot for four.
Brilliant from Markham. The change will be watching the TV closely to see if there's any movement through the air and what they'll have to deal with. And when a man of his ability plays this kind of shot, it just settles everyone down because yes, there is movement, but he can still get into a good position, punch it off the back foot, and get South Africa their first boundary.
That's off the edge, and that's gone for four. Let's throw. Third man's call up into a catching position, and again the ball goes through there. Off for four.
Young kids are enjoying the boundaries. It's decision time for Kohli. The decision he made was to bring third man up, try and put an extra catcher in that area. Unfortunately, it's played with soft hand, takes the edge, goes down. Once again, it's Rohit Sharma who dives, trying to cut it off, gets past it, boundary time. साउथ अफ्रीका ने एक सही हुई शुरुआत की, लेकिन जसप्रीत बुमराह ने हारे के 8वें ओवर में कप्तान एडम मार्करम को पवेलियन भेज भारत को कहेगी सफलता
Markham is thinking about it, asking his opposite partner what he thinks. They're going upstairs. That all looks good. Just in that gap, there's no mat involved. That is all coming from ball onto pad and leg. Let's see what Hawkeye suggests. Well, Alim Dar is right again. He doesn't often get them wrong, Alim Dar. And with that, they're going off. It would seem as if there is a bit of rain around. So a wicket and then they're heading off. How unfortunate that is and how unlucky it is for that decision just before the rain.
मार्करम के जाते ही बारिश की एंट्री हो गई. एक लंबे इंतजार के बाद बारिश रुकी. डकवर्थ लुइस नियम के तहत अब साउथ अफ्रीका को एक नया लक्ष्य दिया गया. 28 ओवर में 202 रन का, यानी अगले 124 गेंदों पर साउथ अफ्रीका को 159 रन बनाने थे.
An early run given away. Difficult for the umpire. He gives it. He has given it. He's a long way down the wicket and he has still given it. You'd have thought perhaps that he would have liked to have sent it upstairs, but remember, ODI is just one referral allowed, and in Markham used it. Now look at this again. It has hit him pretty much in front of the stumps, but he's a long way down. Umpire Bob Daniel clearly thinks that's going to hit the stumps, so he has to go 6 or 7 for 2. That's gone a long way. Short and smashed.
Got the width on offer, slightly dragged down. Eddie de Villiers looking to be a bit aggressor. Gets the width he's looking for and just throws his hands up. I would say that's slapped.
Should be taken. Brilliant. He is such an intelligent cricketer, that man. Bhubaneswar Kumar has taken a very good catch down there. His game awareness was absolutely outstanding. And the Chinaman bowler continues to get these crucial wickets.
The spectacular areas here. He's invited Amla to go for the lock it off drive. He's timed it well, but so also the timing of the dive. Bhubaneswar Kumar. He takes it. There is always the danger of him running on the boundary board.
He's had a great time with him previous pink days. 33 today, 77 for 3. Now this might be a bit of fun, these two guys. David Miller is a power player, a power hitter, we know that. Maybe the Villiers is someone who just plays that way in this sort of situation. Magnificent player, David de Villiers. Oh, he's hit that one. Nice sound off the bat, that's gone for 6. Lovely crack off that willow.
Look at the way he beat the village a little bit. There it's tossed up outside the off stump as well. They think that if it's a turn that the batsman will mistime it. But not he did. He's timed it brilliantly. Absolutely brilliant.
Again, that's gone. I knew that had gone as soon as it came off that bat. 6-4. There's 2 sixes in a row. Takes this over to 16 and there's still 1 more remaining. He's got that away, straight to the man, and straight to Rohit Sharma. That is a huge win.
हार्दिक पांड्या की कैसे बाल है
Yes, that is the big one. That is the one that they want. Walking back to the pavilion. Terrific field placing. You can see this is a slower delivery. He's trying to ball the slower off cutter. They've not had to move an inch. Rohit Sharma. And Hardik Pandya has struck a big blow. Getting rid of the Villiers. For 26, it's 102 for 4.
Down. Drop catch. Also didn't have to move. Just had to dive forward. Didn't have to move left or right.
What would have been a terrific catch if you didn't get the ball to move it. Once again, tremendous field placing this. Oh.
Spot him. Straight through it. Lovely flight together. A little bit slower that time through the air and has knocked that middle pole back.
Half the side down.
Oh, no ball.
That's going to be a no ball. He's going to be pulled back. David Miller was just about off the ground. He's going to be pulled back. I'm sure that's going to be called a no ball. That's you can't do that as a spinner. That's a huge error. That was confirmation. Some part raised or grounded has to be behind that line. He's hit that. He's hit it high. It should be taken. It's not out of course. And just the one is the result. Plenty happening to Wanderers. 108 for 4.
18 ओवर में ये लोग अच्छा बना रहे हैं
साउथ अफ्रीका ने 4 विकेट पर 108 रन बना लिए थे और अब उसे जीत के लिए 10 ओवर में 94 रन बनाने थे। क्रीज पर डेविड मिलर थे जिनको पिछले ओवर में एक जीरो इनाम मिला था। वहीं दूसरे छोर पर हेनरिक क्लासन जो लंबे लंबे शॉट्स लगाने में माहिर हैं।
He's got that away as well. 1 down score. What a difference a life makes.
He's been able to freeze and open the face of the bat and hit it between those two fielders.
Oh, he's plucked that too. That's also gone 1 bounce. That's 12. That's 12 off 3.
Again, halfway down the pitch outside the off stump.
Well, that's nicely played. That is a very good shot indeed. That is a fine strike from
एक
Johnson.
विकेट
He's back to
एक
50
विकेट
now.
लाने थे
Oh, that's plucked. That is gone again. When he hits the ball, it goes a long, long way. Right out the middle of that bat. That deserves more than 6. Beautiful shot from David Miller.
साउथ अफ्रीका को अब जीत के लिए 7 ओवर में 57 रन चाहिए थे। मिलर के किलर अंदाज में भारतीय गेंदबाजों की लाइन लेंथ बिगड़ गई। 20 गेंदों में 32 रन और अब पारी थी हेनरिक क्लासन की।
Yes, he has. That's a goal a long way across. Henrik Klaasen to get it away for 4. That's a superb shot. Brings up 150.
A wide ball. It's an unbelievable shot there, Bobby.
इतना दूर निकल के मारा
That's not watching where the ball's going. It's got 2
Big
चौका
side
मार भी
that
दिया
the
ना
ball's going to go in no matter what he bowls.
ये भी हाँ करा
Oh, yes! That is out of here. What a strike!
कोई है नहीं ना छक्का मारा
Oh, he smoked that. That has been absolutely smashed.
तो बैठे हुए नीचे लोग वहाँ
6 runs.
अभी
अभी
नहीं
नहीं
खाना
तो फिर बहुत
अभी
लेट हो
खाना था
जाएगा।
अभी नहीं खाना है
कब खाओगे? 9:30 तो बज
भारत
गए।
श्रीलंका हो रहा है
Space in the back. Nice and
अफ्रीका
simple.
दक्षिण अफ्रीका
Opens the lead, he takes teammates in the
दक्षिण
change.
अफ्रीका और भारत का भारत का कॉन्टैक्ट है नीला
चेहरे ने मिलर को आउट कर टीम को
इंडिया
राहत की सांस दिलाई
Drive upstairs, surely.
वो पहले का है
Khan is
हाँ
not
अभी
refused.
वो दिखा रहा धोनी खेल
There's the twist
3
there.
साल पहले का
See how the bells work here?
3 साल पहले 4 साल ना
And the dog spot on.
2018 का है
David Williams to go.
4 साल ना
हाँ
अभी 2092 आ गया
ये ला पकड़ो।
अरे अभी नहीं होना था
अच्छा उधर रखा आपने,
इधर रखो।
उठा अब यहाँ से हटा।
तो
पापा पढ़ाने जा रहे हैं बंद करते हैं
म्यूट कर देता हूँ
हाँ, म्यूट कर
हेलो